Well, I'm looking here at a design for the entrance to a house, a sweeping path leading to some steps up to a landing area. So if I zoom in here to look at this label for a raised garden bed to cover footing, and I want to reposition that arrow, so I select the leader, and notice over here on the right hand side of the screen all of the osnaps are turned on. If I look at the osnap settings, every snap option's been turned on. So I'll click cancel. I just want to show you the effect that that can have. I want to move the arrowhead over here, and I want to be halfway in the wall there. You can see that as I move it, because osnap's on, it's jumping to nearest all the time, and in order to get the pointer to pick the middle of that wall, I actually have to zoom right in and do that. So it works, but there's a little bit of extra work to do because those settings are on all the time. If we want to move anything at all in gCADplus, so let's pick the move command, and let's say I want to move, and even here you can see the difficulty that I've got in dealing with it. So what I'm going to do is just move away here. I'll draw a line first, say from here to here, and then I'll draw a circle from, let's imagine I want to pick up the end of that line. I can do it with this system, but then when I want to move that circle from the end point of that line, say to the midpoint here, I'd like to show that if we pick the move command and I want to pick the center of the circle, it will do it because all the osnaps are on, but there's an alternative way. You can leave osnaps off and just say I want to snap override. I want to pick up the center of that circle and I want to move that to the midpoint of this line, and that's now being done. Can you see that with handles or grips on, we see what's happening, but there's an even easier way. Let's move that circle over here. You really don't need to worry too much about all of those snaps being on, and even the right click. We pick the circle. We can, without issuing the move command, we can simply click on the grip in the middle, and then we can move it to the center of the line. So what I'm going to do now is come over here and I'll clear all the snaps. I'll even take object snap off, and we'll now pick, you might have noticed then that gCADplus jumped somewhere wildly away from where we were working, and I'll say now let's move, and I pick the center there, and with one right click I can do an override to the midpoint there. So you can operate in gCADplus quite easily, I think, without too many of those snaps being on. I'd like to use this drawing to illustrate a couple of other features in gCADplus. Labelling's been done here using the leader command, which is the best and most convenient way of applying labelling, I think. But if we click on that piece of text, see that piece of text runs rather a long way away to the right, and we'd like to have a neater label. We can do that by diving in and editing the contents. So we can say bluestone border with, I can hit the enter key there, and I can change the text, put an extra line in the text, and that neatens things up. It doesn't go so far off to the right. You might want to adjust spacing in here. I've set that to 0.5, but you could come back to 0.4 and close it up. But you can also alter the justification within that particular entity there. We can say we want justification to be left justified, and now we can move it back in. I like my text to all line up neatly, so now our text lines up like so. Our labelling text lines up with the information going to the right. So I think you might find that being able to do that with quite voluminous chunks of text is very handy indeed. One other point here, as far as dimensioning is concerned, this is a dimensioning entity. Notice that the 13.89 metre site, the dimension sitting in the middle, it's an easy matter to grab hold of that dimension and slide it across and put it in the more conventional position. But there's also an offset here which is very small. See how the dimension line is quite close to the line it takes its data from. And that's an offset that can be altered quickly and easily in here, where are we? Offset from the origin 35 units. We could pump that up quite substantially and we can make it 250 and we'll OK it, and you'll see it jump back away from the line, so it's less confusing, and I'd probably take the opportunity to extend that line past the end, which you also saw could be done. So that finishes just a little tutorial, I think, on how to handle osnaps and how to improve the presentation of text within leaders.